Hello and welcome to Guild Wars 2 Daily. Today we're going to be talking pretty much exclusively about the gem store, microtransactions, cash shop, buying to win, all that stuff, okay? I doubt I'll take any questions from other topics for today just because this is such a big thing. I've actually got quite a lot of thoughts on it. I'll still try and keep it down to around 10 minutes or so. We'll see what happens. And I guess from tomorrow we'll go back to the normal questions and answers thing because this is just such a big topic. In fact, I mentioned gems and the cash shop for about 20 seconds, if that, on a video a couple of days ago, and 90% of the comments were on this topic. So yeah, there's a lot to talk about. A lot of people are upset, a lot of people think it's fine. I guess I'll give you guys a rundown on exactly what's going on in case for some reason you don't know, and share my general opinions on it as we go through. So yeah, this is essentially what happened. For a long time, we knew that Guild Wars 2 would have microtransactions, okay? We knew that there was going to be a cash shop in the game that would sell, as far as we knew it, cosmetic items. That it wouldn't sell anything that would give people extra power, and it wouldn't be what ArenaNet are calling offering evil items. That's literally the term they've been using. It was going to be a very reasonable place that sold certain cosmetic things, and that was pretty much it. They often, a long time ago, pointed to what Guild Wars 1 was doing for its microtransactions, which did involve pretty much purely cosmetic items as what they're generally going for with Guild Wars 2. Which was fine. I think a lot of people were happy about that. We understood that the game needed a cash shop to provide additional funding for the game, for the continued development of the game, to cover costs of the game as it initially came out. Guild Wars 2 doesn't have a subscription fee. It's definitely not trying to be a free-to-play game that gets all of its money from microtransactions, but it did want to use microtransactions to help out development. And that's still something I think most people are pretty happy with. However, this week, a blog post came out that elaborated a little bit more on exactly what ArenaNet's vision for the cash shop were going to be, and in particular, they announced a new in-game currency known as gems. So the idea here is this: as a player, you can buy gems for real world money. You can spend £10 or $10 or however much you want, and then you'll get a certain amount of in-game gems for that. Prices, variables, all this stuff, it could be anything right now. I think if you're sitting there and you don't like the system because you've seen that something is quite expensive in the cash shop, or you don't think you get enough gems for how much money you've put in, if you are thinking along those kinds of things, stop it. There's no need to worry, okay, because the game is still in beta. If there's any glaring massive issues, then they should be ironed out before release comes. If the game does release and there's absolutely ludicrous pricing, then yes, maybe we can complain at that point. But I think you'll find that at least in part, a lot of how much these things cost or how much they're worth or how badly priced they are is going to be dictated by the in-game economy as much as by how much of a big price tag ArenaNet put on these things, because it all depends on how much players are spending on trading these gems. And until the game's out of beta and we're all in there and playing it and we can see these kinds of values and we can judge how much gold we generally have, there's no way really to know. So I do think that's a little bit premature. So really in this video I'm not going to be talking about individual items being too pricey, if anyone's got any problems about that. So you can buy gems with real world money. You can then use those gems in an exclusive shop that offers unique things such as costumes and lots of other items. I'll get into more specifics on the items later. But you can also sell those gems to other players. This is where the system differs to what most people were expecting. We thought that you just spend real world money and that was it. You'd get some kind of cosmetic thing. However, they've announced that you can sell the gems to other players for gold. This means that you can essentially, if you've got another player to sell to, buy gold in the game, which is really the thing I think that's got a lot of people worried. The first main problem that a lot of people had with this, that was kind of the original backlash, that has now since been addressed by the community managers of ArenaNet, was the worry that because it had been announced that you could essentially buy gold using these gems, people thought that meant that it would just flush gold straight into the economy. Like, you would trade these gems for gold and gold would come out of nowhere. And that would be bad for numerous reasons, namely the fact that this would add massive inflation into the game. There would just be way too much gold going in very, very quickly, and all of a sudden other prices for other items that just have nothing to do with gems becomes very, very high, and then players feel like they can't really get by in the game unless they're forced to spend real world money, which is of course definitely something that ArenaNet are trying to avoid. I feel like I need to mention this though, because very quickly the community managers did come out and say that no, this doesn't actually add any gold to the game, then the system doesn't add anything. It just shuffles gold around that's already in the economy. You would buy the gems, but then you actually have to find a real player in the world to sell those to, a player who's got gold that he got from killing mobs. There's no actual extra gold being added in here. If anything, this has actually become a gold sink, and actually a really, really good one, because you as a player with lots of gold can now spend your gold on gems and then spend those gems, i.e. destroy all those gems and all that gold from the economy on whatever items you want from the cash shop, especially considering that a lot of the items available in the cash shop can be consumable items which you will probably continue to want, maybe even once you've reached the level cap, in the way of boosters or other various items like that for convenience, which is great because this is actually something I was a little bit worried about with Guild Wars 2. They've added a few minor gold sinks like the one attached to the waypoint system, but none of them seem to remove a lot of gold. However, with this, especially considering that as the game gets older more things are going to be added to the cash shop, it's going to be a permanent gold sink that affects not just new players but continues to affect players who are playing the game for a long time, which is really where gold sinks shine. You need a gold sink that can continue to have an impact on players at the level cap and who are doing end game stuff and who typically will be generating more money in the first place. So yeah, it's actually doing the opposite of what people originally thought, so let's just get that out of the way. This idea that you can now spend in-game gold on items that are in the cash shop is actually amazing. I'm surprised not so many people have twigged how cool this actually is. They've just kind of focused on the other aspect of the system. This is brilliant. This means, essentially, that all those items that are in the cash shop, you can now get, any player can get, whether they spend an extra penny on the game or not. You're just going to have to work harder at getting them. Spending money is just a shortcut to those items in the shop. If anything, I think this has actually granted ArenaNet a bit more lenience for me to have what we might have considered bad items like boosters, for example, to be in the cash shop, because these aren't exclusive things to people spending real world money anymore. If you work hard, you can get these things. And think about this, right? Character slots. Guild Wars 1, we've been playing it for years now, and through all that time, a lot of us had to accept that we had a certain amount of character slots, and that was it. There was no chance to get any more. That was how it was, unless you were to spend real money, unless you were to give ArenaNet money. Guild Wars 2, that's not how it is. If you want, you can spend a decent amount of time playing the game, enjoying yourself, essentially, earning in-game gold, and then get something like a character slot out of it. It's very, very interesting, and there were a lot of worries a while ago. In fact, I've talked about them recently, of the idea of microtransactions being used to sell additional content, like dungeons. Is that really going to be so bad if we can actually buy this content, this DLC, essentially, through in-game money? I think that's really, really exciting, and it's something a lot of people are overlooking. Especially because when you look at Guild Wars 2 right now, a lot of people are talking about how easy it is to make money. We really need something to want to spend our gold on. In the game at the moment, it could be because it's beta and there aren't many skins or things like that in there right now, but it looks like money's just building up on people very, very quickly. I like the idea that now I will always have these extra goals. I'll be thinking, right, well look, they've just released a new costume. If I've played enough of the game and got this amount of gold, now I can go and earn this costume. It's something to always be striving for, considering the fact that the cash shop isn't just something that will come at the start of the game and never change. This is something that they're planning on updating consistently. At least once a month, I think we can expect something new to be in the cash shop, and that also means that's something new for players to aim for in the game. Are you at a point in Guild Wars 2 where you've got absolutely every skill, every title, everything's complete? Well, you've still got a goal, you've still got something to aim for. You can earn money and then go spend that in the shop, and you can continue to do that for a very, very long time. It's appealing. I like it. It's a very cool idea. A big part of the backlash over this whole system stemmed from the fear that people could spend money, get loads of gold, and then essentially have anything prestigious they could want in the game. That you would look at Guild Wars 2 and you would look at good, expensive items, rare drops, really cool skins, and they would never truly be prestigious because it wasn't a show of skill or dedication acquiring them, but simply because someone spent $50 on the game. Well, that's where the karma system shines. shines through. And now that this has all been announced, I can see far greater reason for why ArenaNet have added Karma into the game than before, and I think it actually works out really nicely. So Karma, in case you don't know, is another currency. We have gold, and that's exactly what you'd expect from most games. We have gems, which of course have just been announced and you can spend real world money on, but then there's also Karma. Karma essentially functions like gold in that you will acquire it for killing things and completing quests or activities out in the world, and you can then spend that on items. However, Karma can't be traded from player to player. The result is that ArenaNet have added specific items in the game, prestigious items, that cost a lot of Karma, but the only way to get the Karma to buy them is obviously to play the game yourself. So even though players can essentially buy their way with real world money to have a lot of gold, that doesn't mean they'll be able to get everything in the game and remove all value from prestigious things, because that's where the Karma system will come in. All the really prestigious stuff in the PvE world, as far as we can see, will probably be coming from Karma. It will cost hundreds of thousands of Karma, or whatever the value is that's deemed incredibly high, and that's what you'll need to earn, and that proves that you are a good player at the game, that you've spent a lot of time in the game, that you've dedicated time to a specific activity, and you'll have something cool to show for it. Allowing players to sell their gems that they spent their money on doesn't undercut any semblance of prestige or work that players might get in Guild Wars 2, especially when you consider that a large chunk of that aspect of the gameplay comes from achievements, which certainly can't be bought using gems or in-game gold. So really, to people who are concerned that you can just spend a lot of money and then have everything, I really say cool off. Don't worry, there are a lot of other systems in the game which have been announced a long time ago, and like I said, now that gems have been announced, I think it all falls into place a lot clearer now. Now we've kind of got the whole picture, and I can see why achievements have been set up this way, and particularly why Karma is so widespread over the world, and why ArenaNet feel like Karma is going to be an important part of the gameplay. It makes up for what trading gems might have ended up taking out of the game, and that's really not going to be a problem as far as I can see it. The other thing everyone keeps talking about are the boosters, okay? So you can trade gems for experience boosts, for Karma boosts, for all kinds of different boosts. And everyone's going on about this. Why? What is so bad about these boosts? Let's not forget straight away the influence that your guilds can achieve will give people different boosts anyway. This was never meant to be a level playing field. ArenaNet haven't designed it that way. Not everybody's always going to be getting the same amount of experience the whole way through the game, because one person might be in a guild that gets X experience from this, one person might be in a server that's getting X bonus to this through world versus world. It's never going to be a level playing field, and it's likely there's always going to be someone out there who's leveling faster than you. How does selling boosters really take it much further past that? I think this really comes down to quite a childish attitude that we're in a PvE world and people are complaining that someone else is leveling up faster than them. Who cares? ArenaNet have balanced and designed the game so that it's fun at the default leveling rate. That means you shouldn't care that somebody else is leveling up faster than you, and if anything, if ArenaNet have designed it badly, it could mean that the person leveling up faster than you or gaining more Karma than you actually has less fun because they progress through content too fast and miss lots of stuff as they go through. Obviously that's unlikely to happen, but if we're going to take it to extremes like the naysayers do, then we can take it in extremes in the other direction. I really don't see the problem with the boosters. You're not directly competing against these guys. This isn't PvP. The truth is, if you look at the cash shop, there is nothing in the cash shop that will mean someone who spent $100 more than you on the game is going to be more powerful than you and going to be able to beat you in PvP. And likewise, there's nothing in the shop that's going to mean if you're waiting for a raid, someone who spent extra money on the game is going to get a position over you because he's got a statistical bonus. It doesn't come down to that. They're not selling power. Selling boosters is not the same thing, and if you ask me, being annoyed about them is certainly not a respectable opinion to have. If it comes to the worst case scenario and ArenaNet have designed the game so that leveling without boosters is god awful and the only way that the game's bearable is if you're spending real world money on it, then we'll talk. But how many of us actually believe that this is going to be the case? It's simply not. Well guys, I've been talking for ages. Again, there was a lot more I wanted to say. I've probably cocked up some stuff I've said here, please feel free to correct me or have a bit more discussion about this. I might even do another episode tomorrow on it. Let me know what you think. It is certainly a very, very interesting topic. I'm generally, as you can probably tell though, for the system. I don't think it's so bad, and I'm very, very excited at the prospect of being able to play the game and earn stuff that's in the cash shop, because that's something I never would have expected ArenaNet to have done. Very, very, very interesting. Thanks very much for watching, guys, and I guess I will see you tomorrow.